Okay. Apparently I'm live. And there's 7 of you tuning in. So if you can hear me and see me all right, if you could just chuck us a comment just so I know this is working, that would be really handy. Get that working there. And we're just going to wait a couple more minutes. It's nearly 7 before we kick off. We'll get that right. There we go. I say kick off. We're not going to be doing any kicking, but yeah, a few more. So yeah, just chuck us a comment down just so I know everyone can hear me and everything seems fine. That's great. Okay, lovely. So like I say, we'll just wait a couple more minutes for people to drop in, and yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the project and some of the little bits and bobs, and hopefully it'll be of interest to everyone tonight. I say tonight, it's not really nighttime, it's daylight, isn't it? But we'll get going. Looks like water. I'm actually drinking gin. I'm not really a big gin drinker, but I've got a gin tonight. That keeps changing a little bit. Let's just move my laptop there, and that shouldn't flicker as much. Okay. In pin. Oh, I love my. Loving my podcast. Yeah. No, thank you. I think it's all right. It's okay. It does the job. So hopefully we've got a few backers, people who supported the project, listening in tonight as well. So I'll talk a little bit about what's happening with the project, what's happening with your specific rewards, if you've booked a reward or anything like that. So the basic plan of this evening, of this little kind of live event, I'm going to talk about how the project got funded, how I actually planned it. So I've had so many people messaging me asking about how to crowdfund a project. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about how I did it, and if you're interested in doing it, how you might be able to do it. It's not easy, but it is doable. An update on the rewards. So if some of you have supported the project, what's kind of happening with your rewards at the moment. A couple of thank yous. I can't thank everyone, but I will thank some of the people. And there is in the description to this video, there's a big list of people that I've thanked on there as well. More importantly, and probably more of interest to you, what's happening. So what shoots have I got planned? I've got one at the end of the month, and May's really, really busy. So I'm going to talk about some of the shoots that we're going to be doing for the project. And then at the end of this, I'm going to do a Q&A. So any questions that you might have, it might be about Britain's Hidden Fishers, it might be more general, then comment in the live chat. Just chuck us a comment there. You can do that whenever, and I'll get around to it at the end. So just chuck your questions in there, and I'll get around to that and answer it right at the end. It might be specifically about the project. It might be more to your reward. It might be a question about underwater filmmaking or freshwater fish in general or whatever. Chuck it in there, and I will answer that right at the end. But I'll start with the actual, how I got this thing funded. There was a planning for well over a year. So I think people think that I just thought of this idea and cracked on. It was well over a year of planning for the film. It took a long time to do all that. And originally I was going to launch in October, but with everything that was going on, I just thought it was better to wait. And then it got to the point where I thought, if I don't launch this sooner rather than later, it's never going to happen. So we launched in February and obviously finished in April. So it had a good 2 months. I contacted lots of people that I know. I'm very lucky that I know a lot of people in different organizations, which really helps, whether they're fishy charities or fishing organizations, and they kind of plugged it a little bit. Some of it was in magazines, some of it was online, some of it was just contacting people. There was a 2-week lead up. So I think the hype to build up the interest really, really helped. And as well as the actual crowdfunder, there was a raffle and an auction, and the auction was a real surprise. I don't know if anyone kind of kept tabs on that, but we got about, I think, £6,000 just on an auction with anglers, which was absolutely bonkers. And that was Chris Yates. We did a day's fishing with Chris Yates, which went for about 700 quid. And then Vince Cater, who I'll come on to a little bit later, he suggested a load of other specimen anglers. And it went for, about £6,000. So bonkers. So we did do it eventually. So would I recommend kind of crowdfunding? I don't think I'll ever do another one, put it that way. It's hard work and it's really stressful. And obviously, if it hadn't have happened, I'd have looked to write Pratt. So, I don't think I'll ever do another one. But I did enjoy doing it, and we did get there. So it is happening, which is pretty good. So in terms of update on your rewards, if any of you are backers, I've already messaged about prints, and more or less everyone's got back to me. There's probably about 20 or so people. I'm going to be pretty busy filming in the next couple of weeks. So if you haven't already got back to me, then you're going to be waiting a while for your prints. If you have got back to me, your prints are on their way. I've already received that, and I don't receive it. Photospeed are the ones who do the prints, so I don't actually touch them. They sort it all out and get it sent out to you. So if there's a problem, I can sort that out. But prints should be on their way. I've ordered books for people who've got books and all that kind of stuff. And if it's a third-party reward, then I should have already put you in touch with those people. So that's all moving pretty smoothly. In terms of thanks, I mean, there's a lot of people, but there's two people in particular I do want to thank. The first one is Vince Cater, who I mentioned earlier. He works at Photospeed, but he's also a very passionate dace and roach angler, and he's an all-round great guy. And he was one who really pushed to get the auction going and came up with some unusual ways to raise money for the project. So I owe Vince quite a lot because I didn't really think that would happen. And the other guy is a chap called Ben Bassett, and he's running the LRF fishing competition, light rod fishing. So that's in Weymouth. And I remember we had a good chat before, and he said, "How much money do you need?" I said, 30 grand. And he went, "Oh, fuck, how are you going to earn that?" And I said, "Well, in a month, hopefully, or just over a month." And he was like, "Oh my God, that'll never happen." And here we are. But he kind of did that. And I think that specifically raised a couple of grand or something, or maybe a little bit more than that. So that was pretty good at Ben. But there's a lot of people. There is a list, like I say, at the bottom of people that I want to thank if they've contributed to the project. And there's organisations. I mean, obviously the main sponsors, Salmon and Trout Conservation and Hookpoint Fishing Magazine, or Sea Fishing. Obviously, fantastic having them on board. I think they complement each other. They're not in competition in any way, do very different things, but they obviously both have a love of fish. So that's brilliant. Organisations like the Wild Trout Trust, the Grading Society, the Rivers Trust, the Canal and Rivers Trust, loads of organisations got behind to support the film, which was absolutely phenomenal and really good. The only one that I was a little bit miffed at, and I won't dig into them too much, but it was the Angling Trust. And the only reason I say that is because there's people who I messaged and they said, "Oh, I'm not interested," or they didn't reply. That's fair enough. But I messaged the Angling Trust and they said, "Yeah, we're really keen to be involved." And I was like, "Okay, brilliant." And that was 2 weeks before we launched. And then the launch day came, all the other organisations put out the bits and bobs, and the Angling Trust didn't. I thought, okay, that's strange, but never mind. 2 weeks in, still nothing. And I messaged the Angling Trust again, said, "Oh, you said you were really keen. What's happening?" No reply, nothing really. And I'm not falling out with them. I'm not mad at them. I'm just disappointed, and I just think it would be, common decency to at least tell me why they didn't do it. So I'm a little bit miffed, but hey ho, there we go. So God knows why they chose to go down that route, but that's that. And on to what's happening. So what shoots have I got planned, and what am I going to do? For the next couple of weeks, it's relatively quiet. I mean, because of the weather we've been having, spring is relatively late now. People are predicting about 2 or 3 weeks behind. I mean, I'm still getting good frosts each morning. Nearly every morning this week, I've had pretty good frosts where I am in Nottinghamshire, which at this time of year is relatively unusual. So that's putting the fish back. So I went to go film grayling spawning a couple of weeks ago. Normally they'd be right on it now. This would be prime time. And no, they hadn't even started. So it's all running a little bit late, which is skewing my timeline somewhat. But I have got a shoot planned at the end of the month to go film the Elver run on the River Severn. I'm going to try and film masses of Elvers. I've had a pretty good run so far this year. So I'm going to head down to Tewkesbury, around that neck of the woods, and to try and get a good amount of Elvers, hopefully. So that'll be a pretty fun shoot. But May to early June is the busiest time of the year for my filming. Like everything's happening. So there's loads of shoots that I'll be doing. I'd like to try and do the Mayfly hatch. I'm going to try and do some of it on the Peak District rivers, but I'm also going to try and do some of that on the chalk streams down south, with the idea of filming brown trout taking mayflies in slow motion, which is something I think is pretty mouth-watering. And you can picture the shot, kind of sunset, mayflies fluttering in slow motion, and then some lovely great big brown trout and scoffing mayflies. So I've just got to wait for the hatch of those. Potentially, I'm going to try and do port beagle sharks. I don't know how that's going to work in terms of timings and whatever, but apparently May is very good for them. And I'm going to try and get some footage of port beagles, because there's very little. There's not a lot of footage of port beagle sharks. There's loads of blues and basking sharks, but very little of those. So I'm going to have a go for them. Bitterling, which are the little kind of cyprinid little silverfish, they breed in mussels in May. I want to try and film that, do a sequence on bitterlings breeding. Shad, which are the freshwater herring. I want to try and get some footage of shad spawning. That's actually in Tewkesbury as well, that kind of neck of the woods. So there's a lot to do in a relatively short amount of time. But if I expand to the rest of the year, some of the other shoots that I'm planning are an urban shoot, because again, I think it's all very easy to be wrapped up in the romanticizing of the countryside, but a lot of us live in cities. And of course, we do still have rivers, lakes, and plenty of fish in the city. So I'm going to be doing a shoot in London at some point, filming fish in the capital. Take a sip of my gin. I want to do chalk streams. I'm a big fan of chalk streams, so I want to try and do a bit of work with those. Rock pools. I love my marine fish, even though I live right in the middle of the country, and I want to try and tell a story of some of these little mini monsters that live in rock pools. Everything from giant gobies and top knots and the really weird stuff that a lot of people won't be aware of, and do a little sequence, because rock pools are incredibly harsh environments. So I think that'll be absolutely great to cover. Next year, going to be doing mullet, or hope to do mullet. Mini species, so things like bullheads and loach, all kinds of stuff like that. And obviously, I mentioned I'm not the only one working on this. So Matt Doggett, he's done a sequence on black sea bream. So he's going to be sending some footage over. And Lindsay McRae, who's a BAFTA award-winning camera op, he's sending some footage over of sea trout as well. So there's other people working on these. And I don't know how I'm going to work this out, but I would like to do burbot, which obviously are not in the UK at the minute. So whether it's a case of me going to somewhere where there are burbot, or one extreme, even importing some burbot and filming them, I don't know. But I do want to include burbot. It might be easier just by stock footage, to be honest, but I would like to get those. So that's just some of the shoots, basically, that I have that I've got planned, which is pretty interesting. So I'll that was just kind of a brief update, I guess, on what we're doing. I'm not going to do too many more YouTube lives, because I feel like you need something to really dig into and talk about. So I might do another one, maybe in 6 months, 8 months, and we can talk about that then. I'll open it up to you lot. So if you've got any questions, chuck your questions in the comments section. I'll get through those. We can have a bit of a discussion. If you are backers as well with the updates, I know I've sent loads recently. So what I'll try and do is maybe narrow that down to one a month, or even one every couple of months, but just kind of put the highlights of the interesting stuff, because I don't want to bombard you, because I realize it can get a little bit annoying if you keep getting loads of kind of updates all the time. So yeah, if there are any questions, chuck them at me and I'll answer them. I'll just have a look what we've got. So yeah, Paul, my father-in-law, he's saying frost down here in Kent. So yeah, we're still getting frost about. Kevin Benton, can't wait for the LRF event in Weymouth. So yeah, that'll be great, Kevin. So I'm all being well, I'm hoping to attend that myself, and I'll have a little fish as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. I can't believe that's sold out. So 70 people at least are going to be taking part in that. So that was the support from the LRF community has been absolutely phenomenal. So that was great. I can't wait to join in on that as well and have a good go. Chris Lewis has put, wow, good luck with the port beagles. Who are you going out with? Charles Hood. So I'm sure many of you will know Charles Hood. He's a skipper in Cornwall, and he does the blue shark day trips, but he's toying with the idea of doing porgies. So I mean, he's going to basically ring me if it's looking like likely, like if he's seeing them. I mean, the case with poor beagles, they tend to stay deeper down, so you can attract them in, but I suppose most people don't get to see them because they're a deeper down species. So I've got a kind of few interesting ways to try and film those. But I'd love to, if you don't know what a port beagle is, they're actually related to great white sharks, but they're not, they're not really dangerous. But yeah, that'd be pretty good to do. David S has put, can you get some bream rolling on a summer's evening on an idyllic lake? I'd like to watch that. I mean, that's the kind of imagery I'm hoping to get for this. It's that sort of visual porn is how I like to kind of say it. That sort of stuff that just makes you think, wow, that's incredible, or the kind of relaxing stuff. I'd like to think that when this documentary is done, you could put it on mute, watch it, and enjoy it. And that's how I've got it in my head. Like, you don't, that kind of visual imagery. So I don't think I've got bream down on the list, actually, but who knows? Like, they might be included in some way, because the way that I'm doing this is I'll probably film way more stories than I'll use, just to give me the option to swap things out and whatever. So it could be that we do get some still waters and maybe get some bream and some tench and stuff like that rolling. And then Kevin's put again, 5 MS coming from Hartlepool for it. Oh, wow, that's a good slog. But yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy it. It should be a good day. Like I say, it's a pretty special thing, and they're a good bunch. I say I've not actually met half of them. I only know a couple of the LRF guys, but it should be pretty good. Well, I think that's pretty much all I needed to say. So there wasn't anything too drastic, but unless there's any more questions, then I'll log off in a sec. But hopefully this is kind of give you a slightly better idea. I know it's relatively vague, but gives you a bit more an idea of it. And yeah, if you were one of the supporters, obviously I've probably thanked you 100 times already, but I'll thank you 101 times. So thanks for helping it along and making it happen. And thanks for tuning into this YouTube live. So yeah, I won't do another one for a while. I'll do one later down the line. Maybe I might even try and do it where I can stream some footage and show you some of the clips exclusively, what I've been filming. That might be a little bit technical for me, but I might be able to work out how to do that. So, but yeah. And before I go, Chris has just put, excuse my bias, Jack, but what other marine species are you going for? So I'm going to do mullet. I'm going to do a story on mullet. Black bream are going to be in there. There's going to be multiple rock pool species. I'm going to be doing, which I've emailed you about with the merle beds, and try and do some of the species on the merle beds. So I don't know what the exact ratio will be to freshwater to marine species. I would probably say for logistics, there'll be more freshwater stuff in it, but there'll still be a healthy dose of marine species. Oh, and sharks. I'm going to be doing a piece on British sharks. So there'll be a fair few marine stuff in there as well. Paul's put, will that? Yes, yeah, that's where I'm hoping to do that. So yeah, hopefully that's pretty good. But yeah, thanks for joining me tonight anyway, and giving you a bit more of an idea. And I will catch you next time. I'll probably be in a river sometime next time I'm tweeting out or whatever. But yeah, thanks for joining me, everyone. Catch you later. Bye.